This is happening against the backdrop of massive cuts across the federal government, including at the FAA. Just going to put some up on the screen. Hundreds of FAA employees have been laid off as part of Elon Musk going through all the federal agencies. And then beyond the FAA, we have 10% of the CDC workforce, 3,400 at the U.S. Forest Service, 2,200 at the Interior Department, 2,000 at the Department of Energy, 1,000 at the VA.
Yeah, listen, and so far, at least if you kind of look at how Americans, Trump voters in particular, are reacting, so far this is something that they haven't really been affected by. You do hear from some GOP senators who are in some of these states where they're public parks, for instance, raising some alarms. But so far, these cuts, because they are directed at federal workers who the right has been expert at demonizing as lazy, as working from home, as costing too much, because they've been demonized, a lot of Americans say, too bad, so sad that they're being axed. We'll see how long that lasts. We'll see if there is any trickle-down effect for average Americans.
I just want to read what Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, said. I'm thankful that everyone in the flight incident in Toronto that took off from Minneapolis is safe, but we keep seeing these incidents day after day. Meanwhile, Trump's doing massive layoffs at the FAA, including safety specialists, and making our skies less and less safe.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So once again, we got to talk about the desperate Democrats, the desperate left. They're currently flailing in free fall because none of their attacks against President Trump are working, right? It's just not. Nothing is working. At this point, they're just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. That's essentially what they're doing. So now they are trying to blame President Trump for plane crashes, right? This is what Democrats have come out and said.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer appeared to suggest that President Trump is to blame for the Delta plane crash in Canada. In a post on X, Schumer said Trump's layoffs at the FAA are making the skies less safe, while Democrats are fighting to protect the public. Schumer wrote in a separate post, "The flight took off from Minneapolis. The FAA was still responsible for inspecting the aviation equipment, and Trump just let go of FAA safety specialists." Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says that's not true. According to Duffy, less than 400 of the agency's 45,000 employees were let go. None of them were air traffic controllers or critical safety personnel. They were all probationary, meaning they had been on the job for less than a year. The Professional Aviation Safety Specialists Union said it represents approximately 300 workers who were laid off, including maintenance mechanics, aeronautical information specialists, environmental protection specialists, aviation safety assistants, and management and program assistants. Schumer isn't the only Democrat blaming the Trump administration for recent tragedies and troubles. Senator Brian Schatz posted, "Eggs and coffee around 20% more expensive, airplanes crashing, mass layoffs. Either they're really bad at helping you, or you are not the one they want to help." The investigation into how the plane crashed, caught fire, and flipped over began in earnest Monday night, and more investigators arrived Tuesday morning. That includes officials from government agencies and companies including Delta and Mitsubishi. The CEO of the Toronto Airport Authority said 2 storms last week dropped more snow on the area than they received all of last year. That led to hundreds of cancellations throughout the weekend. Monday was considered an operational recovery day for the airport. Now its 2 longest runways remain closed, causing even more cancellations.
It's incredibly irresponsible for Chuck Schumer to say such a thing when the investigation is still underway. And as you rightfully pointed out, John, this crash unfortunately took place in Canadian airspace with Canadian air traffic controllers overseeing it. And the facts about the FAA are that no air traffic controllers have been let go by Secretary Duffy or this new administration. In fact, Secretary Duffy has put great emphasis on hiring the best and the brightest air air traffic controllers who want to be part of the FAA. And President Trump signed a very strong executive order to ensure that the FAA and all federal government agencies are focused on merit and skill-based hiring. We want the best and the brightest, the most competent individuals in positions, especially of public safety at the FAA, the Department of Transportation, and all departments across this federal government, so we can best serve the American people. So while Secretary Buttigieg and the Biden administration sat on their hands when it came to aviation safety for 4 years, this administration is taking it seriously and is actively recruiting the best and the brightest to join this very important field.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand, these same people who were just telling us how you're not supposed to politicize plane crashes are now so desperate that they are politicizing plane crashes that have absolutely nothing to do with President Trump.
One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe.
So I do think it's a valid point, but I want to be very clear. There is no evidence that the D.C. tragic plane crash had anything to do with these firings. And then this most recent one in Toronto, it was because of landing on a Canadian airway, and it was related to the landing. It was not, there is yet at this time no evidence it's related to the layoffs. That said, it's a perfectly valid point to say that you need to know who you're getting rid of in government.
Hopefully there'll be an investigation.
I strongly, and there is by the NTSB right now, I strongly believe in streamlining government. I think most people think it doesn't necessarily work, it isn't as responsive to people as it should be. But my criticism remains, tell us why you're cutting it. Tell us. And Sarah's highlighted this.
Isn't it money?
Finally, the Doge website does have some information about what they have cut. They've said they've saved $50 billion. But tell us why we don't need that programs, how it's not going to impact our goods and services, and we don't have that
Sean
yet.
Duffy quoted numbers. He said there were 45,000 employees at the FAA. Okay, sounds like a big number. With no context, who are these people? And how, what are their jobs?
Some of them are
400
aviation safety
Wait one
people.
second. 400 people were laid off, and you're like, okay, 400. But what were their jobs? They're saying they're in these temporary status jobs, but it doesn't say whether who they were replacing or why they started wasn't critical. Yeah. My biggest problem is the transportation and the not transportation, the transparency and the methodology in this, because right now we all wanted the fat cut. Great, everyone's on board with that. Not in 2 weeks, because when you're going to cut the fat in an organization, you go in, you learn everything, and then you see where the inadequacies are. And that's the issue. Probationary status.
I feel like we're living in some kind of chaos right now.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand, the cackling hens know better than Elon Musk and President Trump, two successful billionaire businessmen, when it comes to how to organize a business, right? Or to conduct layoffs and cuts, right? She knows better. Sarah Haynes knows better, right? Somebody showed me the multi-billion-dollar business that she has built and run, right? I'm pretty sure she hasn't run any, which again is why she's a talking head on The View, right? Instead of actually building something, okay? These people have never built anything in their lives, but yet somehow they are the experts on how this stuff is supposed to be done. It's hilarious to me. So yeah, the point is this. These plane crashes have absolutely zero to do with President Trump. It has absolutely zero to do with the FAA. The only one that you could even questionably say may have something to do with it is the plane crash that happened in D.C., okay? But even that one, we don't know. There's an investigation, and Trump was only in office a week before that happened. So if anything, if you're going to place blame on Biden, because the FAA at that time was a result of his administration, in which you had Pete Buttigieg as the head of the transportation department, right? So he was the transportation secretary, which, by the way, no experience whatsoever when it comes to transportation outside of allegedly liking trains, right? But outside of that, he ain't got no experience, right? No experience whatsoever. And we had more near misses in the past few years under Biden administration than we had in a long, long, long time, okay? Mayor Pete was not able to fix that issue at all, okay? It was a disaster. We were lucky that we did not have more plane crashes, okay? That's what people don't understand. Pete Buttigieg is trying to brag about not having any plane crashes, but again, it's because you were getting lucky. We had more near misses than ever before, okay? So I don't want to hear anything about trying to blame President Trump for what basically is leftovers from the Biden administration, a problem that the president has to clean up and that he is currently cleaning up. So with that being said, these facts are inconvenient to the leftist narrative because, again, they want to blame President Trump at all costs, even if blaming him ends up backfiring, which is exactly what happened to fired former MSNBC star. I don't know why the Daily Mail called the guy a star. He is not a star. Host Medhi Hasan sparks fury by calling for more plane crashes than plays victims. So let's read about this. Former MSNBC host Medhi Hasan called for more plane crashes in America, then claimed he was a victim of Islamophobia after being condemned. The British-American journalist took to X Sunday night and wrote, quote, "Make American planes crash again." Wow. Make American planes crash again. Now, the irony of this post is the fact that I know that what he's trying to do is that he's trying to essentially blame President Trump for these plane crashes. But this guy, who has been criticized as a very outspoken Islamist, this is probably not the type of post that you want to put out there, right? You probably don't want to talk about making planes crash, right? You probably don't want to talk about that. That's the last thing that you kind of want to put out there, right? So I get what he was trying to say. Okay, he was trying to blame Trump, but this definitely backfired. Again, considering how this guy has been criticized before for what people would define as religious extremism. Hours before, 2 died in a crash that occurred at Georgia's Covington Airport, and on Monday afternoon, a Delta flight crash landed upside down in Toronto amid some high-octane windy weather. Feds are still looking into what caused the American Airlines Black Hawk crash over D.C. that claimed 67 lives, as is the case with a crash that killed 7 in Philadelphia 3 weeks ago and one that left 10 dead in Alaska. With these incidents still fresh in the collective American conscience, along with the attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001, several social media users aired outrage over Hasan's comments in post to X. Hasan 45 responded by quickly deleting the post and publishing an unapologetic explanation. In it, he called the original post sarcastic and fumed that it was stoking Islamophobia against him. Again, this guy is one of the softest individuals that I've ever seen in the media, right? I mean, he tries to act so tough, okay? But as soon as you criticize this dude at all, the first thing he's doing is he's pulling the victim card. Well, you're racist, right? Well, you must be Islamophobic, right? You're afraid of Muslims. Never forget, this is the same dude who threw a fit, right? Who was so devastated over a joke on CNN.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing it.
You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and, no, by me, I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die.
You should not.
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on.
Did your guest just say I should be killed on live TV?
I said I hope you don't.
Guys, let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you said I'm a big supporter
of the Palestinians.
Hamas?
Guys, let me
stop.
Palestinian. Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
I apologize.
Are you a racist, violent person inciting violence against
Ryan,
That's disgusting.
that is completely.
Then I apologize.
That
Good
is
job, CNN.
completely
Let's have first
out
block
of
say the
pocket.
Muslim guy
You
should
know
be
that.
blown
I
up
apologize.
on
I
TV.
apologize.
Don't say then I
Wow.
apologize. You literally.
I thought you said Hamas. I
You didn't think I said Hamas.
Yes,
I said I
did.
supported Palestinian rights.
Yes, I did.
Why? Because when you hear
What's funny
Palestinian,
is
you
Rudy
hear Hamas.
Giuliani said this
No,
yesterday,
because-
so you're a great guest to
Listen,
be here
All
to
right,
defend
I
Rudy
told
Giuliani.
myself
Give me
I
one-
wasn't going to
give me-
entertain
give me one
nonsense
second.
today, and so at this point,
This is what we're in
I
now.
can't
This
do
is America in
Here's
2024.
what I will say.
Forget the
Here's what
racism.
That's right.
It's I should
That's
die.
right.
I didn't say that. You
You
should
said,
die.
what does beeper mean? Don't give me your
I
faint
did not say
ignorance.
you should
Guys,
die.
Why did you say
guys,
with my
give me-
beeper
give me
go?
a-
What did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
So what
I
did
said-
you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
No,
No, you didn't. You said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Ryan, stop talking.
At least have the guts to support your racist
sorry.
comment.
Hang on.
I'm so sorry.
Let her bring it back.
This is why yesterday's rally was disgusting.
Don't call us Nazis, but I'm going to
outrageous.
threaten the brown guy as a
This is
terrorist
why.
and kill him.
Because I didn't ever say Donald Trump was Hitler. But do you know who stood on a stage yesterday and said, I want to come to the Nazi rally? I don't have to make up words and call you something. You're saying it for yourself. And what you just said
Kamala
right
Harris
here,
is a pimp
apologize,
handler.
but I will tell you,
I don't accept that apology, and you didn't even
That's
say it to
fine.
me.
I didn't say
that
it to
was
you.
disgusting. But I can be offended when you don't even say it to me. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I was offended by what he said yesterday. And I'm offended that the former president and potentially future president would allow it and go for 12 hours and not say, I don't care. Because you know what? When Kamala Harris put out statements about switching of opinions, it wasn't good enough for Republicans.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you said it.
Why don't you take this back a little?
Yeah, absolutely legendary moment. Legendary moment on CNN. Good times, right? So yeah, this dude is Charmin Ultra Soft, right? He's Charmin Ultra Soft. You make a joke, this man is in tears, right? Claiming that people want him to die and all this stuff. It's like, bro, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. He further claimed conservatives were clipping the 5-word tweet and taking it out of context despite it coming in response to the Georgia crash. Among those to take issue with his comments was Asra Nomoni, a former Wall Street reporter who is Muslim and has written for the Washington Post and New York Times. According to dailymail.com, she slammed Hasan for playing the victim and says he knew exactly what he was doing when he called for plane crashes. Yeah, I mean, I think he was trying to blame Trump. But, you know, again, considering this guy's past, it just didn't come out right? It had a different meaning to it, okay? Quote, when Hasan published the 5 words, make American planes crash again, I can assure the world he knew the audience he was seeking to wound a nation that saw 2 plane crashes into the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001, and just saw innocents die in the Potomac River, she said Tuesday after penning a stern rebuke on social media. Quote, he also knew the audience he was seeking to stoke when he callously deleted his words as sarcastic and played the victim, said Nomani, who is the author of Woke Army, the Red-Green Alliance that is destroying America's freedom. Quote, his 1 million followers include many wound collectors in the Islamist and far leftist communities who he has cultivated to use Islamophobia as a shield, as he now laughably does. Nomani, an Indian American writer, added, quote, what you must know, Medhi Hasan is a decade in the making in our great United States. America let in his malign foreign influence and gave him a stage at MSNBC to spew his propaganda. She continued after Hasan limited replies on the follow-up posted Monday night. Yeah, so this guy is claiming that this was sarcasm. Okay, he says that he was highlighting the shocking number of plane crashes under Trump and the FAA cuts, as if that makes it any better, right? Does it make it better for you to falsely blame President Trump for plane crashes, basically using these freak accidents, these deaths to push a political agenda, right? That is what he's doing overtly, right? He knows that these plane crashes have nothing to do with Trump, but he's blaming Trump anyways, right? I mean, I feel like that's bad, okay? And I also feel like it's bad to say make planes crash again, right? If that is the interpretation that you're getting out of it, which is that he's basically wishing for more plane crashes, that's also bad as well too. Both of those meanings are bad, right? No matter how you spin it, is bad, okay? So as you can see here, this backfired to the point where he had to delete it, okay? And at some point, leftists are going to learn their lesson, right? That this type of unhinged Trump derangement, it never works, right? In fact, it is more likely to backfire than to work, right? And in this case of Medhi Hasan, this obviously backfired, right? And then he wanted to play victim when he got rightfully criticized for putting out a careless tweet that was designed to basically politicize tragedy because, again, the left, they're desperate. They have nothing on Trump at this point. They're just throwing things against the wall to see if they stick. Now they're blaming him for plane crashes that clearly he has nothing to do with. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.